Hello. Hello, Ryan.
Hello. Hi. It's an honor to talk to you again. How are you? How
I'm
have you been?
pleased to be back connecting from your idea. I'm not exploring, as you're aware, emotion to the same degree that you are when you're asking how I am.
I understand.
But
Out
I
of
get an
curiosity,
understanding from your idea of why you're asking. As a courtesy, I understand that.
out of curiosity, for me, it's been about 3.5 or so weeks since we last talked. How much time has passed for you? Has time passed at all for you since we last talked?
It's not so much that time has passed for me, but the frequency is a little different. So you could say we're on a different timeline, or rather, a different time structure of the same line than previously. But it's not like less time passed for us or more time passed for us. We have just shifted to a different reality or a different experience of the same reality than the one we experienced previously, and then you experience a difference in frequency as what you call time. Time is
I
just
see.
one layer of a construct.
I see. Well, the first question I have, like before we started talking, I asked David to take a look at some footage that was posted online showing what's alleged to be some Zeta Reticulans as well as a crashed UFO ship. Are you able to look into his mind and see if, as far as you know, if that footage is real, if it's legitimate, as best you can tell?
It's cut together to a certain degree.
Yes,
Some of them are right, others are not. The shipping's mostly right. Our own members of us, some of them are correct, most of them are not. Most of them would be more artificially constructed. Not necessarily for fraudulent idea, might be, I'm certain.
so are you saying the footage, like the individuals in the footage, like, are you saying that they are clone Zetas, or are you saying that like the footage itself is fraudulent?
The beings are what you consider cloned, but we cannot say if they're cloned by us or rather by your own governance. However, some of the footage also seems disgenuine, could therefore be fraudulent.
I see.
Mostly the ships we want to put forward are correct. But again, the footage is not one linear footage, it's different things cut together.
Correct. What part of the footage do you think is real?
I'm trying to look right now in this from what I see this.
For example, the individual referred to in the film as Skinny Bob. Do you know if he is an actual Zeta?
Unlikely. If he is, then he is cloned.
I see.
Not one of us.
I see. So last time we talked, we had talked a little bit about the Roswell crash. We didn't go too much into it since I had a lot of questions, but I'm wondering, like, now if you can, tell me a little bit more about the events leading up to and following the UFO crash in Roswell in 1947, if you're allowed to. Can you tell me about that?
There were several ones that crashed there. Some what you consider shot down, others through, but not through ideas through weaponry, but more energetic or magnetic or electromagnetic weaponry that brought them down. Some crashed on purpose to give technology.
Hmm. Interesting. Do you know what caused the ship in Roswell in 1947 to crash? Was it shot down, or did it just naturally crash on its own?
Electromagnetic mismanagement in the energy field that was constructed. I cannot pick up it was deliberately done by your governance to bring the ship down, or if they were experimenting with something. But it's more likely it was deliberately done to bring the ship down.
Do you know if
Electromagnetic weaponry, you could call this.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like, I was listening to a man, I think his name is Bill Herman, who said that the reason UFOs sometimes fly in like crazy triangular patterns, like in other words, they dart from one side of the sky to another real quick, is because radar can lock onto them. Electromagnetism can like interfere with their propulsion system and cause like their ships to lose power and crash. Like, do you think that's something similar to what happened in Roswell?
Correct. However, many ships fly this way because it's very easy to fly this way. Those ships are not flying like your airplanes or your helicopters. They have a different... they have what you could say a non-conventional propulsion system. Or a non-propulsion in the same way at all. They function much differently, so it's no problem to jump from one place to another if you wish to go from A to B.
I see. Do you know if any Zetas survived the crash in Roswell?
Yes, they did. Not all, but some. Also, others crashed there and were operated there from your governance. Some also from different areas of your own planet that came from there, that interfered with the government of your current area, or the Roswell area that's in control of this area. Some agreements were made between different groups from your own planet that were in conflict with each other, and some with off-world groups, including ours.
I understand this is sort of a delicate political topic. The crash, the incidents where Zeta survived the crashes. I mean, were they taken into custody?
Yes.
Were they held captive? Are they held captive to this day, or were they ever released?
Some are released, most are still held captive.
Mm.
And vice versa.
You're saying there are humans held captive by the Zetas?
Yes. You would call it this, but there's agreement of what you consider the abduction phenomenon.
Oh, I understand.
However, there are also some what you consider Zetas there. And some humans that are being held captive also.
I see.
In Roswell, yes.
Do you know what the Foo Fighters of World War II were? In other words, the UFOs which usually appeared as balls of light, or sometimes ships that followed and toyed with fighter planes from different sides in the war?
Yes. Some of those were from other worlds, not from us necessarily. More from those beings you were previously asking, the reptiles, yes. Those human-like people from other worlds. Some that were interfering with the war effort back then were also more of the reptilian nature, something better to explore from the Zeta Greys later on. However, some also from this person's region that I'm talking to, some being constructed over here, where I'm sitting right now in this person. However, most of those beings came mostly from this particular other human beings from other planets that were observing the war effort. Some of them taking a side, many of them taking no side, just observing.
I see. Can you tell me what happened on February 24th, 1942 during the so-called Battle of Los Angeles? Are you familiar with this?
To some degree, yes. There were some ships that were appearing in the sky, just observing, taking no military effort, not being affiliated with any group that was engaged in the war, just observing. However, they were being taken under fire by the military of your planet for a long time. They were also peaceful people in the region, just staring and looking at the objects in the sky. But however, many others were also deliberately attacking the object, trying to bring him down, but to no effect at all. None of them were completely shot down, like in Roswell, for example.
Whose ships, whose ship was this? There's a famous photograph. Is it a Zeta ship that was involved in the Battle of Los Angeles?
Not to our knowledge, no.
Okay.
More likely, again, human-like beings from other worlds.
I see. Now, out of curiosity, can you tell me, when the Zetas first made overt contact with the U.S. government? Are you allowed to comment on that?
During your war effort already to a certain degree, but nothing official. As you're aware, your official government, members of your official governance aren't necessarily the one in charge. After the war, it was done more openly. There were various groups making contact with the US government during this time, not just us. First and foremost, there was this Nordic group, as you're calling those. Yes. that previously made contact with the other side of your war effort. However, since they're being turned down in many instances, because they were not willing to share technology to the same degree that we were opened up further, therefore we were welcomed, we had an agreement signed, mostly during the war effort, after what you consider the battle you previously asked about on the western coast.
I see. So
Again,
Adolf
there's
Hitler.
also diplomatic affiliations there. Something can be shared as it cannot be shared. But that's also when the abduction phenomenon was officially started. Officially.
I see. Can you comment on like whether Adolf Hitler's wrath was guided or influenced by any extraterrestrials, or was he just crazy?
Could you repeat the word? This person's what?
Adolf Hitler, the Chancellor of Germany during World War II.
His wrath?
Wrath, like the Holocaust and his invasion of other countries and the Holocaust was. I mean, did he just do that on his own? Was he like just an evil bastard, or was he influenced by extraterrestrials?
Many people in your world, over the course of the history of your planet, have been influenced in one way or the other by different groups, and I understand you're putting up a certain judgment of good or evil on people, depending on what action they're carrying out to either you or others. We don't do this to the same degree. However, again, this would be something to ask more the reptiles, because from what we are aware, from what they are sharing with us while we communicate, is that they were more in contact with this particular person. Again, something perhaps you might consider a contactee or a starseed.
Okay. Okay, yeah.
There are many other groups at this particular point that influence on your planet in different factions of what you consider your war effort on various sites. And certainly there were more powerful people in those positions than this spokesperson that you now attribute most of the war effort to. There are many other groupings, individuals involved.
I see. Thank you. The last time we talked, you mentioned that there was a capital star of the Milky Way galaxy named Trizal, I believe is the way you pronounced it, located in the center of our galaxy. However, our current scientific understanding of this part of the galaxy is that there's a supermassive black hole at the exact center of the galaxy with many millions of stars orbiting around it within a relatively close distance. Is our scientific model of the galactic center correct? In other words, is there an actual black hole at the center? And if so, can you say how close Trizal is to this supermassive black hole?
Inside.
It's inside of it.
Correct.
The star is inside the black hole?
You would perceive it as such, yes. Or rather at the entrance. As you might be familiar, black holes are not sucking up everything into nothingness. They are simply gates. You might consider this a wormhole from your scientific, or rather your science fiction as you call it. It's not really fiction description. They're traveling from one side to the other.
What happens if a person goes inside of a black hole? Can they ever come out again?
On the other side, yes. They simply travel through it. Of course, there can be the option of them not surviving.
That's very confusing to me. You see, like, the way we understand black holes is like, once you go in, you can never come out again. Like, basically, you go in and you die. So it seems like a very strange place to put the capital of our galaxy. So like, are you saying that ships regularly go in and out of this black hole?
From one direction, yes. They don't go out, coming back. And it's not like what I'm saying, for as an example, is it's a door that you can only go through from one direction. Or like perhaps you have some windows in your world where you can only see through from the inside but not from the outside in your interrogation rooms, for example, which some also exist on the Roswell, yes?
Okay.
They have those windows. The same way this whole functions like a membrane, that's perhaps a good term, like a membrane. You can only go through in one direction. And yes, it can be possible that you die, but first and foremost, things that go in there come out again, just not dead. They're not being spitten out again, they just arrive somewhere else. A portal would perhaps be good terming. It's not directly like a portal, but maybe that's how you can understand it, or a wormhole.
I think I understand. Can you tell me who is in control of Trees? Is it the Federation, the Empire, or somebody else?
From our control idea, that's something so it's better the reptiles have to share on this. It's also that they're suggesting that they wish to step back in to answer some of those ideas. We are
Okay.
not in control of this particular place. That's what we can share. That's what I can share right here now. It's not like we are governing this planet.
Okay. Yeah, I'll talk to Kalask about that. Now, I know
Yes,
the
they're
last.
sharing that we should step back in. Is there some last important thing you have to ask to me?
Yes, I have a couple more questions, and then we can go back to Kalask. So the last time that we talked, you said that there was a version of myself in your species. Do you have any details about this version of me that you can share? Like, is this person male or female, and can you provide a physical appearance?
Our male and female characteristics are like extreme, as you call us, as they are in your. However, we still have some distinction. This individual seems to be more androgynous,
I see.
and the appearance would not do much for you. Looks like most of us would look to you. We look very similar.
How tall?
From your understanding, about 162 your centimeters.
Okay. I would love to meet him or her. Do you have any advice for how I can connect to my higher self? The last time we talked, you had advised me to work with my higher self in order to meet my version in the Zeta species. Do you have any further advice how I can try to get in touch with my higher self?
Just don't try to force it. Just be open, that's all. You can of course
Okay.
meditate on this idea, but the more important thing is you don't force it. And always ask yourself why you want to have this contact. What's the reason behind it?
Okay. Uh, okay. Yeah, I would like to jump back to talking to Kalask. One last thing before we go. Given that today is December 25th, Christmas Day, I'd like to go back to the topic of Jesus Christ. The last time we talked, you said he was a star seed. Can you tell me which race sent Jesus here as a star seed, and like what was the purpose? Does he ever plan on coming back?
Again, perhaps it would be something better ask the reptiles or even other members that are not affiliated with the Empire to the same degree. But from what we perceive, and indeed a starseed is a correct terming, perhaps even genetically, physically the idea from what we are sharing, but again it's something we get from other beings that are more affiliated with the so-called Federation, is that he was genetically... It's very likely that your so-called immaculate conception, is that a term from your language?
Yes, it is.
Is actually sexual intercourse with a man from another planet, from another race, with the person you know as Maria. Her real name was not Maria, and his real father was not named Joseph. Those were just names
Can,
they took up, and he was not born what you consider in your own timing yesterday. The date is very off. So the people celebrating his birth, from what I'm understanding, in your world currently, from our read from this person's mind, are celebrating the wrong day.
do you know what the right date is?
At least 2 months earlier,
2 months. Can you tell
approximately.
me? Do you know what the name of Jesus's parents is? What his parents' names are? I'm just curious.
No, we would have to ask members of the Federation, perhaps.
Okay.
They took up wrong names for political reasons. They were persecuted, like many over there, because of the Moses person bringing a certain idea to your planet. Yes? The Moses
Yes.
person brings certain teachings, particularly the essence. The essence, I'm not sure exactly on pronouncing this right. His
I
idea,
understand.
original intention, was not to form a new group, just to reform what you consider Judaism, as well as many others, the same person with the same name as this person I'm speaking through right now. The David person. Many people you call the prophets had a similar idea and intention, not just religious figures, also political figures. Later on, it brought the same concept for your planet, so it's not just religious ideas. The Karl Marx person, for instance, having the same teaching originally. The Christoph Columbus person. the Robin Hood person. Many of them bring forward the same teaching of universal brotherhood. It was not just this one person you deemed so important. The message is what was originally intended, and was not his first incarnation. It's very likely that he was the same person as the Moses person, as what you consider a reincarnation.
I see.
In this case, he would be, by the definition of this religion, that Moses was infiltrating or rather affiliating himself with what you consider a messiah.
I see. Yeah, I guess we can go. You can put me back to class now. Do you have any questions for me you would like to ask? If not, I mean, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Just one last information. He, the person you asked, already did come back in the meantime. He just doesn't recognize.
Can you provide any more information? I'm sure a lot of people would love to hear more about this. When did he come back, and was he just an ordinary person, or was he somebody of public significance?
The latter. He would not have come back for no reason. Originally, the idea, of course, was he already reincarnated in his Jesus form, as he was the Moses person most likely previously, and then he was another religious person in the very own religion that came after him. It was not his intention to create a new religion. He just wanted to reform an older one. So then again, he came back again as what you consider a reformer, but this time not in the Middle Eastern region of your blade, but in the region that the person I'm speaking to right now is located.
Can you provide his name? I'm just curious.
We're finding the Martin person. It's a similar name to another reformer in the American region of what you consider a civil rights movement, but not quite the same name.
Martin Luther?
Yes, that's right.
Interesting.
We believe there was the formation of another religious branch that you consider Protestantism.
Interesting. Okay, well, thank you for talking to me, and definitely I have hundreds more questions, but I guess that'll have to wait till next time. If you don't mind putting me through to class again, I'd appreciate it.
Yes.
And lastly, I would like to wish a very Merry Christmas and a Happy 2018 to you, the entire Zeta people on your planets and throughout the universe. And hopefully we'll be able to speak again.
Happy solar return to your people.
Thank you. Thank you.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.